Hey everybody, I'm that one guy, and I wanted to create a series of videos to go over the Weakauaras I've created. The whole purpose of the Weakauaras is obviously to help you better understand your spec and hopefully help you play better as a result, but also to gamify the game. Because WoW does present you with some spell alerts for the specs you play, but not all. And so that leaves you looking for ways to identify if a certain buff or debuff is active. And that's where Weakauaras can come in play. And I wanted to do more than just have an icon with a timer in it, right? I wanted to try to present you with visual effects that make it feel more like a video game and immerse you more into the spec you're playing. At least that's the idea. So in these videos, I'm going to go over the Weakauaras I've created, how I intend for them to work, and show you how you can modify them if you'd like. So whether you've already found my Weakauaras, or you're looking for some for a certain spec, or you just want to have a better idea of how Weakauaras work in general, hopefully these videos will help you with that. Let's go over Shadow Priest. And I know I probably say this a lot, but Shadow Priest really was one when I started putting, like, again, more of the heads up display stuff up there on my screen, because there were just so many different abilities to track with short cooldowns, especially if you were playing Archon and had Void Eruption, right? It had to track Void Bolt along with your Mind Blast, and also when you can use Devouring Plague and your Surges of Insanity from the Halo, and then Void Torrent. And I just like, I instead of trying to like bounce back and forth and see what was on cooldown and what, I just wanted it all up there so I didn't have to stare at my icons all the time. So I'll go through both and the functionality of it and explain, because again, I learned you could do different conditions, and so it made it simpler on the brain when the Weakura told me what to push, and had that like that video game feel, that video game aspect to it, rather than having to stare at my bars and try to figure out from buffs and things like that. So everything is going to be somewhat straightforward. Some of it I'll have to show in combat for it to really make sense. So let's just go through all of the Weakauaras for Shadow, and you can see what I'm talking about. Starting with Vampiric Touch. It's not going to show up on your screen right now because I don't have a target. Same with Devouring Plague. When you have an attackable target, they will appear. If those targets do not have your debuff, then those won't be there. If the target is not attackable, they're not going to show up. So only when you have an attackable target will it let you know the status of your Vampiric Touch and Devouring Plague. If you are talented into Unfurling Darkness, so that your Vampiric Touch is instant cast and you're castable again after you cast it the first time, that's why it'll glow like that. So after you cast Vampiric Touch, if that buff is active, meaning you can cast it again instant, it'll glow. When there is less than 7 seconds, so inside that pandemic window, the actual icon will turn black. All right, you may want something different, and we can talk about making it look different, just so that it's more visibly noticeable. But basically, if the icon turns black, that means you need to or should refresh it. Devouring Plague, similar in that it will glow when you have enough insanity to cast Devouring Plague. So you don't necessarily have to track how much insanity you have. If you can use it, then it'll glow. The icon will glow. See what I mean there? It turns black, meaning you need to refresh it. And then same is true for Devouring Plague. When there's under like 3 seconds or 2 seconds, it'll turn black, just kind of indicating, hey, it's about to run out. For Surge of Insanity, you'll get these nice little purple orbs, just for each charge that you have, up to 4. It should turn white-ish, gray-white, whenever there's less than 6 seconds on the buff, right? Just kind of letting you know, hey, these are about to expire. For Mind Blast, don't mind me. For Mind Blast, this is for each charge, right? 1 charge, 2 charge, and then that circle going around it right now is indicating the cooldown of it. Again, easier to see when you're in combat, but if you have 1 charge and the second one is on cooldown, you'll see that circle going around until it's back up, and then same is true for the first charge. If you have no charges, you'll only see that circle going around here, indicating how much time is left until it's back up. Void Torrent, when Void Torrent's off cooldown, you'll see that. I have it set up due to the Voidweaver talents and rotation stuff. I have it set up to only show when Devouring Plague is active. So if it's off cooldown but Devouring Plague is not on your target, it's not going to show. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, as part of the rotation, it's like, hey, don't use that until Devouring Plague is up. It's set up that way. If you don't like that, delete this second trigger, and then it'll always show when Void Torrent is off cooldown, no matter what. But again, I have it set up to only show when Devouring Plague is active. Okay. Shadowy Insight, right? Your instant cast Mind Blast looks like that. Mind Devourer, right? Your buffed Devouring Plague, your free Devouring Plague will look like that. Okay, that icon there. And Death Speaker, when you have you can shoot off your Shadow Word Death without them being under 20. You'll see that icon. And then Void Bolt will essentially replace that or go on top of it because that's more important to know. But yeah, when you have Void Bolt, it's a little two-part thing in that it looks like this when it's active. Okay? And when it's on cooldown, it's desaturated. So that icon's still there, but it's kind of a gray-white color. And that circle spins around it. Right? So you can see when it's going to be up. So all of that combined, especially when you're an Archon, and see they do turn that gray-white color when there's less than 6 seconds, you can track how much, like, is Devouring Plague castable? The only thing you'd need to still check is, like, are you near the cap for Devouring Plague if you're trying to, like, hang on to it? How much time is left on your Vampiric Touch? Is Void Bolt up and castable, or how soon will it be based on that little circle going around it? Is Mind Blast castable, or how soon will it be? Right, how many charges do I have? And then how many charges of Insanity, whether it's your Mind Flay or your Mind Spike, do I have? And then are they going away soon? The other stuff being just more of like a video game feel or video game effect is Dark Ascension. Right? These wings, similar like you've seen on Paladin, but modified a little bit. And I also have these on Holy and changed a little bit. They'll be purple when the buff is active, and then when the buff is not active but Dark Ascension is off cooldown, meaning it's usable, you'll see those. They're kind of faint just so they're not super obnoxious, because like maybe you're an M+, and you're not at a part of the dungeon where you want to use Dark Ascension yet. But if you're in combat, like on a long raid fight, and Dark Ascension is up, right, you can probably still track it yourself, but if it's up and you don't have the buff active yet, you'll see those kind of grayed out wings. And then when you do have it active, just more of like a video game thing so you can see it yourself, they turn purple. Just a little progress bar tracker for your void circle, your singularity that you send out with Mind Blast when you're in Voidweaver, and then just another tracker for Void Form. So if you ever take Void Eruption for Void Form when in Voidweaver, right now that's not the play in terms of how the talents go, then you'll want to shift these so that they're not on top of each other so you can see both. That would be remarkably simple to do. You would click on one of them, whichever one you wanted to move, go to the Display tab, and go to Position and Size Settings, and shift its Y offset. Right? Really, you could just shift it one. Right, and then they'll be stacked instead of on top of each other. And then your Insanity bar, not going to show because I'm not in combat, but then there is an Insanity tracker, just a bar telling you how much you have, and then a cast bar. So how that would look like in gameplay when you have an attackable target, it's going to show you, it's desaturated, it's grayed out. Those buffs do not have your debuffs yet. When you do Vampiric Touch, right? Again, this is showing you Ascension is available to be cast, but you don't have the buff active. And this is showing you that you can do your instant cast, and now it's gone. But that was showing you that you could do your instant cast Vampiric Touch from Unfurling Darkness. If you'd like to know, like, when the debuff is gone, so you can activate it again, you can add that functionality. But as you can see, it's black, right? Kind of indicating, hey, you should refresh it. And there's your Shadowy Insight. So what it would look like, right? When you use Dark Ascension, you see the wings turn purple. Devouring Plague is castable, so it glows, right? There's our Unfurling Darkness. Since I cast Devouring Plague, it's telling me, hey, you can send Void Torrent now, right? My 2 charges, Devouring Plague is usable again. Mind Blast, see, and there's the cooldown for them. A Surge of Insanity right there. Mind Blast is back up off cooldown. Devouring Plague is usable. Surge of Insanity proc, right? Don't have anything. Mind Blast is now back off cooldown. This turned black, meaning I need to refresh Vampiric Touch. Oh, and it's glowing, meaning I have the instant cast Unfurling Darkness. There is I can use my Shadow Word Death. It's glowing, meaning I can use it, and that's kind of the loop for this, right? Obviously, I'm just kind of going slower through the cadence and maybe not playing perfectly. So if I'm hurting your feelings by not playing ideal, I apologize. I'm just trying to show how it works or what the idea is for the Weakauaras. But all the while, you can keep your eyes here. You can see the spells you're casting. You can see what you're doing. Stuff glows to let you know you can do it. There was Shadowy Insight, right? Again, you see the wings popped up because Dark Ascension is off cooldown, letting you know you can activate it. So that's the intention behind those things, right? Trying to take the mental load off for Shadow Priest, in that, you know, if Devouring Plague is glowing, you can cast it. If you'd like to know, like, when your insanity is closer to capped, right? If that would be a helpful functionality, there's a way we could add that in and add some other sort of indication that your insanity is near capped, as opposed to just that Devouring Plague is usable. And then same thing like for Unfurling Darkness. If you'd like to know when the debuff is gone, meaning you could trigger that again to be able to have the instant cast Vampiric Touch, you can do that as well. And then as for Archon, it's going to look pretty similar, because the only thing that changes, there's two things that change, I should say. One is if you take the talent Void Eruption, you'll see that Void Bolt icon. And then two, is going to be, you're going to have a lot more Surge of Insanity procs. I don't have anything to track or indicate that Halo is off cooldown, but if that is something you would like, I can add that in. And in this one, you'll see, like, you won't know that Void Torrent again is off cooldown until Devouring Plague is on your target. Vampiric Touch isn't going to glow because I'm not taking Unfurling Darkness, but it would look a little like this in terms of gameplay. There is my Void Bolt, and there it's on cooldown. Devouring Plague I can use, and my Void Bolt's back, right? And you can see these are my Surge of Insanities. Oh, and for some reason, I don't have Devouring Plague on my bars. Haha! At least I have it there, but not on my actual icons. But yeah, that's it, right? That's kind of the only difference that you can see is Mind Blast, Void Bolt, Surge of Insanities, Void Bolt, Surge of Insanities, Devouring Plague, right? And it may be helpful, and there is your Mind Devourer, right? To let you know that that's available. And then again with Void Torrent. So it'll only show, see, it's still off cooldown, but because there isn't Devouring Plague on my target, it's not going to let me, or not that it won't let me use it, but it's not going to tell me that I have it to cast. I'm going to sit here for a second so we can see those go gray, hopefully. And that's what they're supposed to do, to let you know there's only 6 seconds, so spam cast them. There they go, right? Spam cast them. We did it. All right, but that would be it. That's how it works. Again, nothing to tell you that Halo is off cooldown, so you'd still have to mentally track that yourself, stare at the icon. But if you would like that to be on the screen as well, there you go. But other than that, that is the Weakura pack I made for Shadow Priest. It makes it really fun for me. Again, makes the mental load a lot easier to be able to see what I have available to use, especially when you're in Archon and you have all those different things between Void Bolt, Mind Blast, and Surge of Insanity procs. Things like that to keep track of, and then in addition to your Insanity and your Devouring Plague. Just don't make the mistake of not having Devouring Plague on a keybind, right? I'm over here pushing 2, but I didn't have it on 2. That's obviously an epic fail. But other than that, that's it. If you can think of anything that I left out or you feel like definitely needs to be included in Shadow Priest, that would be really, really helpful. Just let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I hope you like it. Have a good one. Again, I hope you found that helpful. I do intend to make a Weakura pack for every spec. So if I haven't made one for the spec that you play or that you'd like to see, just comment that down below. Again, I do intend to make one for every spec, but if I see people asking for it or really wanting one, I'll probably get to it quicker than if I do it on my slow, leisurely pace. I hope it will enhance your gameplay. Like I said, it's all about gamifying the game and making it more fun and more immersive for you, while also helping you improve as a player, because the information that you need to react to is hopefully more readily available. If you have any other questions about this Weakura pack that you just watched or any other ones, again, please feel free to comment. I try to be as interactive as possible in my YouTube section. And that's it. Hope you have a great day.